London in autumn, a crisp breeze drifting through the maples lining Kensington Road. Under the antique golden glow of sunset, Captain Ethan Montgomery strode confidently along the drive of the Royal Army headquarters, where he had served faithfully for 6 years. His khaki uniform was impeccably pressed, his leather boots gleaming. His gaze bore the bearing of an outstanding officer, carrying the weight of the Montgomery legacy, a venerable military family renowned for generations of service. As Ethan reached the barracks gate, 2 sentries snapped to attention with crisp salutes and gently closed the steel doors behind him. Before him stretched a grand oak-paneled corridor, its walls adorned with commemorative photographs and medals of honor awarded to generations of Montgomery generals. Among them, a portrait of Lucas, Ethan's youngest brother, beaming with pride, stood out as both his greatest joy and deepest worry. Meanwhile, half a world away in glamorous Los Angeles, Hollywood's top star Aurora Sinclair walked the red carpet at her film's premiere. She wore an ivory evening gown, her hair softly curled, her face the very picture of grace. Hundreds of flashbulbs popped and television cameras swiveled toward her. Aurora forced a bright smile even as her eyes darkened at the final text from her boyfriend, actor Blake Carter. "You're a perfect stand-in for Olivia. See you in the back room after the party." Aurora froze, her heart splintering. Olivia Sinclair, her half-sister, was Blake's true object of affection. All evening, Aurora remained on the fringes, avoiding the glare of the press and whispering gossip. Finally, she slipped away from the red carpet, foregoing any chance to draw closer to Blake, choosing instead the solace of a quiet moment alone. Less than a week earlier, the Sinclair family had received official word from the Montgomerys. Captain Ethan Montgomery would soon return to England after completing his training, and the 2 houses were to be joined by marriage to cement their alliance. Olivia, Sinclair family's favored daughter, had been selected as the bride in this political match. But when her parents learned of Olivia's repeated infidelities, her late-night escapades behind their backs, they recoiled in dismay. In that tense moment, the spotlight shifted to Aurora, quiet, diligent, and seldom in the limelight, who was unexpectedly tapped as Olivia's replacement. The announcement stunned both families. Mr. Gerald Sinclair, Aurora's father, hesitated, torn between preserving his daughter's show-business image and honoring the family duty. Mrs. Margaret Sinclair, her mother, quietly encouraged, "Sometimes we must sacrifice for the greater good." After a moment's hesitation, Aurora nodded in acquiescence. She understood that this was more than a marriage, it was the preservation of both families' honor and future. Her heart ached for Olivia, pampered and favored, who had shirked her responsibility. That same day, Ethan received urgent orders: "Captain Montgomery, prepare for Operation Phoenix in the Middle East. Your deployment base will be disclosed 72 hours in advance." A premonition told him that this campaign would be more than combat, it would bind him to a woman he had never met. In his rare moments of freedom, Ethan visited the Montgomery family's heritage room and paused before Lucas's portrait. He knew his brother longed to volunteer for the front lines. Despite Ethan's every attempt to dissuade him, Lucas remained resolute. "Sometimes I envy you, Ethan," Lucas had confessed once. "You're prepared, while I wait for my chance." Lucas's radiant laugh filled Ethan with pride and worry in equal measure. Would he go too far? By the Thames, Aurora stared at the Sinclair invitation. The Montgomerys request the honor of Miss Aurora Sinclair's presence at a family tea on Saturday at 7 p.m. She sipped her cappuccino, heart fluttering with anxiety and excitement in equal parts. At the same time, Ethan glanced at his own invitation from his father. "Ethan, the Sinclairs host a tea party Saturday evening. Your future wife's family awaits your introduction." He allowed himself a rare smile, feeling the thrill of anticipation after years of unending training. Saturday night arrived. The Sinclair mansion, bathed in candlelight, dazzled with strings of crystal and refined guests in elegant attire exchanging polite greetings as a string quartet played softly. Aurora appeared in a pale green dress, her hair swept into a low chignon, revealing her slender neck. She glided forward with a gentle smile, though her eyes were tinged with unease at the weight of her new responsibility. As a chandelier's light fell upon the twin portraits of Lucas and Ethan on a marble console, time seemed to still. Ethan entered the drawing room, tall, military precise, his cropped brown hair neat as ever. He paused a few paces in, his gaze falling on Aurora. They shared a brief, tentative smile, each wondering. Ethan, silently, will she be the one to share my family's duty? Aurora, inwardly, will he truly accept his sister's substitute? Their first conversation was simple, over tea. Ethan, good evening, Miss Sinclair. I'm Ethan Montgomery. Aurora, good evening. It's an honor to meet you. As their cups touched lips, an electric current passed between them. Neither knew the journey that fate had just set in motion. After the tea, Aurora drove back to her riverside flat, her mind both unsettled and strangely comforted. She reread Blake's final message and thought, perhaps fate has led me here to find a different, truer love. Ethan returned to the barracks and jogged the silent corridor, cradling the Sinclair Montgomery family portrait his father had sent. He pressed his hand to his heart and murmured, I won't let her stand alone. Ahead lay Operation Phoenix, but before that, a more personal battle awaited them, between family duty and the first stirring of the heart. London had barely slipped into winter when fine drizzle sifted mist across the Sinclair family's Kensington mansion windows. Inside the neoclassical drawing room, warm golden light played off generations of family photographs displayed on the walls. Aurora Sinclair gently traced her fingertips over a portrait of herself and her half-sister Olivia. Olivia's radiant smile now looked hollow next to her own reflection in Aurora's mind. She remembered Blake's last call, from her boyfriend and co-star. You're just a stand-in. Our arrangement isn't really about you. Tears blurred Aurora's vision. Stand in. Those two words echoed like a broken record in her thoughts. Mr. Gerald Sinclair, Aurora's father and head of Sinclair and Company Film Studio, entered the room, his stern expression betraying concern. Beside him stood Mrs. Margaret Sinclair, whose gentle features were tempered by resolute eyes. Aurora, her father said gravely, the alliance with the Montgomerys is no longer optional. Olivia's reckless behavior has already damaged both our reputations. You must prepare. Aurora drew a slow breath, steadying herself. Father, Mother, I understand our duty to unite the families. But Olivia never told me any of this. Mr. Sinclair frowned. Olivia refused to listen. The Montgomerys have sent official word, Captain Ethan Montgomery needs a bride immediately. Your sister no longer has the right to refuse. Her mother placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You're the only one who can restore our family's honor. You must set aside your show business career and personal feelings to fulfill this responsibility. Aurora met her parents' gazes, hope mingled with regret, and bowed in silent assent. Not far away, in the officers' quarters at the Royal Army Base, Captain Ethan Montgomery quietly reviewed the recent satellite call with his brother, Lieutenant Lucas Montgomery. Lucas, impetuous and fearless, had long dreamed of proving himself in uniform, though he lacked Ethan's formal training. Over the hour-long conversation, Lucas had insisted, Brother, you lead Operation Phoenix, let me handle the logistics. I must prove myself. Ethan replied firmly, Lucas, this mission is too dangerous. But you're the family's pillar, I'm your brother. Let me protect you. Ethan sighed. I understand. Just promise me you won't take unnecessary risks. Lucas's voice crackled with determination. I promise. The next day, Lieutenant Lucas Montgomery received orders to replace Captain Ethan for the covert deployment. The Phoenix Legion, an elite unit of the Royal Forces, marched to the drop zone. Lucas adjusted his formation under proud eyes, the mission briefing slide showing his own photo alongside that of his future sister-in-law, Aurora. Their farewell was brief but poignant. "Ethan, my only command, stay safe." "Lucas, I'll return. I promise." Lucas boarded the helicopter, waving as the rotor wash lifted dust, and Ethan watched until his brother vanished into the sky. In the desert sands of the Middle East, Lucas and his team pressed forward to rescue hostages. A sandstorm raged at night, punctuated by gunfire and explosions. During the final assault, Lucas discovered an enemy ambush. To shield his comrades and save the captives, he shoved a grenade to his chest, sacrificing himself in a blinding flash. In his final moment, he pictured Ethan's proud smile and Aurora's gentle face. When Ethan received the coded bulletin, his world shattered. Lieutenant Lucas Montgomery fell heroically, shielding his unit and the hostages. Tears streamed down Ethan's face as guilt and grief overwhelmed him. He had failed to protect his brother. A week later, Aurora packed silently to leave Hollywood's bright lights behind. She'd learned of Lucas's sacrifice through a terse press release. Lieutenant Lucas Montgomery died heroically in action. Aurora trembled as she read, then looked at her invitation to tomorrow's tea. Her heart ached, yet shone with resolve. "Ethan needs me. I have to be there." She called her manager. "Cancel all my engagements. I'm withdrawing from the project." Her manager gasped, "Anna, do you realize what you're giving up? Millions of dollars, your career." Aurora's voice rang with conviction. "I'm making room for a greater duty. I owe it to the man who sacrificed his brother." The next morning, drizzling rain accompanied Aurora's trench-coated journey to the Montgomery barracks. She was led into a private sitting room where Ethan sifted through letters. His head snapped up at her entrance, silhouetted by the rain. "Ethan," surprised. "Aurora? Why are you here?" "Aurora," softly, "I heard about Lucas. He was your brother. I came to express my condolences. And to stand by you." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan rose and embraced her. "Ethan," choked, "you needn't say anything. Thank you for coming." In the days that followed, Aurora moved into a riverside cottage provided by the Montgomerys. She nursed Ethan's physical wounds and tended to his shattered spirit. Every morning she placed a steaming cup of Lucas's favorite coffee on Ethan's desk with the note, "For Ethan, from Lucas's final request, live for both of us." The news of Aurora's engagement to Captain Montgomery swept through military and high society circles. The Montgomery family held a welcoming tea for her, attended by grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins. Grandmother Evelyn Montgomery, "Welcome, Aurora. You've honored your promise to our family." Grandfather Henry Montgomery, "From now on, we will remember the Montgomery name with you by our side." Aurora bowed her thanks, tears threatening. She knew she'd given up her Hollywood life, but she felt the warmth of a new family home. Day by day, Ethan and Aurora grew closer, first through duty, then through shared grief and compassion. They sorted Lucas's keepsakes and recounted his stories. One afternoon, as Aurora carefully placed each medal into its display frame, Ethan came up behind and hugged her. "Ethan, when I'm with you, I feel Lucas is still here." Aurora, smiling, "I'll always be by your side, and together we'll keep his memory alive." In that moment, their love kindled, stronger and warmer than any family obligation. Amid London's towering riverside blocks, the Montgomery cottage by the Thames had become Aurora Sinclair's new sanctuary. She set down her luggage in the candlelit living room, the scent of English florals drifting along the corridors, warmth she hadn't felt in years of Hollywood glitz. At dawn, Aurora woke to a garden of blooming roses. Today she would inform her longtime manager, Emma Reed, of her decision. The phone rang. Emma, video call, Aurora, the gala premiere tonight is huge. You're the star, millions are watching. Aurora, sighing, Emma, I've decided to pause everything. I can't continue. Emma, shocked, pause? You'll lose contracts and your standing. Aurora, firm, I'm building something more important now, a home and a family. She hung up, leaving Emma speechless. Over the next weeks, Aurora immersed herself in military protocol, studying ceremonies, hospitality for officers' families, and the etiquette of life on a base. Grandmother Evelyn led her through a crash course in the Montgomery legacy. Evelyn, in our family, from bride to great-grandchildren, we live by honor and duty. It's not just about reputation, it's about being a steadfast support for our soldiers. Aurora took notes diligently, learning to draft formal letters of thanks and to host dignified receptions. Then came joyous news. Aurora discovered she was pregnant. Overcome, she called Ethan. Aurora, trembling, Ethan? We're having a baby. Ethan, voice cracking, the best news I've ever heard. I'll protect you both at any cost. On a snowy afternoon, they together prepared for a tea party honoring the Montgomery clan. The kitchen filled with laughter and the aroma of simmering tea cakes. Ethan, when our child is born, I want them to inherit the Montgomery tradition and grow up with love and freedom. Aurora, I'll teach them the compassion and patience I learned on set, so they'll be strong and kind. Their shared vision melted the divide between Hollywood star and soldier's wife. They were simply husband and wife, building a life together. Despite whispers in society, can a Hollywood actress fit the army life? Aurora answered with deeds, not words. She visited military families, organized fundraisers for wounded veterans, and posted gentle snapshots of herself with soldier children. Social media praise followed, silencing the doubters. When Aurora's pregnancy reached 3 months, Ethan received new orders. Captain Montgomery, deployed to the European border. Danger lay close to home. Ethan, I must go, but I'll come back. Aurora, teary, be careful. Our child and I will wait. In the delivery room, Aurora cradled the ultrasound wand as gentle thumps signaled their baby's heartbeat. She shared the moment with Ethan by video. Ethan, on screen, that sound. It's magical. Aurora, that's our child. They'll be as strong as their father. They smiled across the miles, knowing that although he faced war, his family was his greatest strength. Aurora began keeping a journal in honor of Lucas, initialed L.M. pouring her hopes for her child into each page. She later adapted the entries into speeches for the Military Families Association, earning thousands of shares and inspiring others. As winter's first snow blanketed their garden, Ethan secured leave to return home. He held Aurora in his arms on the balcony, snowflakes drifting around them. Ethan, we've weathered so much, just one more test remains. Aurora, I believe in you. And I believe in us. Late winter sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the red brick cottage by the Thames, now officially the new home of Captain Ethan Montgomery and Aurora Sinclair. This chapter would tell of how they laid each brick and kindled the warmth of their first true household. One crisp morning, Ethan drove the family's vintage Land Rover down the private lane. Aurora, bundled in a heavy knit coat and carrying her suitcase, looked on in joyful anticipation. Ethan, smiling, this is our first home, a place for dreams and memories yet to come. Aurora, softly, I've imagined it 1,000 times, the scent of oak floors, the rose garden outside. Now it's real. They stepped through the front door to be greeted by Grandmother Evelyn, tray in hand with steaming tea and freshly baked butter biscuits. Evelyn's gentle smile was like sunrise. "Evelyn, welcome, Aurora. I know you left the limelight to be our family's support. We're so glad you're here." The three-bedroom home featured a high-ceilinged living room with a marble fireplace and a small garden out front, perfect for roses, lavender, and golden chrysanthemums. That week, Ethan and Aurora scoured local workshops for furniture. He favored rough-hewn oak in traditional English style. She leaned toward graceful curves and emerald velvet upholstery, her signature color. "Aurora, I want this armchair by the window so I can read every morning." "Ethan, I'll place my writing desk in that corner, where the light falls just so." To their surprise, oak and velvet blended in perfect harmony. Each piece carried its own story: a handcrafted writing desk, a crystal chandelier Aurora found at the Portobello Antiques Market. Aurora dedicated an entire afternoon to decorating the nursery. She painted the walls a soft cream and stenciled drifting clouds and smiling suns. A sturdy wooden crib, hand-knitted blankets, and a pale blue polar bear plush toy stood ready. Aurora, whispering, "My little boy will grow here," waking to dawn and hearing his mother's lullabies. Ethan hung bookshelves filled with military history volumes he and Lucas had once read together. Now the room held both a mother's love and a father's dreams for their child. A week later, they hosted a small housewarming for Montgomery relatives. Grandmother Evelyn made her classic pudding. Grandfather Henry brought out a vintage wine once shared with Lucas. "Henry, to the home of new beginnings, and to Lucas's memory." Laughter and tales of Montgomery campaigns filled the air. Aurora listened, absorbing the traditions that now defined her new family. Soon, Aurora grew closer to her in-laws. She joined Alice and Catherine Montgomery in the castle's great kitchen, baking apple pies and preparing afternoon teas for veterans. "Catherine, your jam is exquisite, just like you." "Aurora, I only wish to contribute to this family." William Montgomery, Ethan's father, discussed the Lucas Memorial Scholarship with Aurora. "William, your idea is so compassionate. We'll back it fully." "Aurora, I want Lucas's legacy to inspire those who served." Their support gave Aurora confidence she'd never known as a solitary star. Each morning, Aurora rose early to prepare breakfast: whole-grain toast, eggs, and Earl Grey. The breakfast bell rang, and Ethan appeared, eyes bright. "Ethan, this always makes me happy." "Aurora, as long as you're well, everything else is worthwhile." Their cozy family meals sparked plans for the day. Ethan would coordinate strategy meetings, Aurora would draft her next charity speech. In the evening they'd read by the fire. As spring warmed the air, Aurora led Evelyn and the aunts into the back garden, pruning rose bushes and sowing lavender seeds. She shared anecdotes of Hollywood. They taught her gardening lore. "Aunt Laura, remember the orchids you planted last year? They've bloomed beautifully." "Aurora, I'll create a whole flower garden for our home." With each passing day, peaceful moments knitted new memories. When Aurora's bump became unmistakable, the Montgomerys threw a waiting for baby tea party. Guests gathered: friends, officers, and supportive neighbors. Aurora wore a pale blue dress, her joy radiant. "Aurora, thank you all for sharing this happiness with us. Ethan and I cherish every blessing." Applause and well wishes filled the sunlit garden. Aurora felt the true value of family and friendship in every smile. Sunset over the rose garden found Ethan's hand on Aurora's belly, their unborn son's gentle kicks beneath her skin. "Ethan, I promise to protect you both. Aurora, and I promise to nurture this family, to keep our home full of love." Before them lay two missions: the call to duty on the front and the calling to raise a family, but they would never be alone, for love and tradition bound them together. In the bitter cold of Eastern Europe's late winter, White fog blanketed the border valley. Captain Ethan Montgomery stood in the makeshift command tent, studying a 3D map of treacherous mountain passes where human traffickers and terrorists hid among civilians. Over the radio crackled an urgent order: Captain Montgomery, Alpha Squadron to move into the red zone immediately. He strode past rows of officers at workstations toward the map table. Their mission: dismantle an international weapons network and protect noncombatants. That dawn, the Thames cottage lay silent under mist. Aurora, 6 months pregnant, wore a thick wool coat and cradled her pillow against her swelling belly. In her hand glinted the silver vibranium phone Ethan had gifted her upon their happy pregnancy news. Ethan entered, carrying his field pack. He approached her bedside, placing a hand on her belly. "Ethan," solemn, "I have to go, but I'll stay in touch." Aurora choked, "You promised you'd return. Our baby and I are waiting." Ethan, smiling, "Your messages will guide me home." They held each other in a moment of fragile peace before the storm. He set down a framed photo of our family, D.M. bearing Lucas's final words, "Protect one another." At the drop point, a Huey helicopter descended onto the gray earth. The Phoenix Legion, 20 elite soldiers, stood ready beneath helmeted heads and rigid armor. The cold wind bit at their uniforms. "Ethan, Alpha Team, follow me into the tunnel. Bravo and Charlie will flank each side." Their boots crunched over rocky ground toward a derelict tunnel rumored to conceal an illicit arms cache. As they reached the entrance, a fusillade erupted, AK-47s blazing from both walls. "Enemy commander, drop your weapons or be shot." Ethan ducked, signaling a soldier to fire a red flare rocket. The explosion rattled the tunnel, churning smoke and dust. "Ethan, advance. Secure the front." Through choking haze, Alpha pressed forward. Gunfire ricocheted, shouts and the stench of gunpowder swirled in the confined passage. Their assault forced the enemy back, inch by bloody inch. Suddenly Ethan's comm went dead, no signal. He reached for his personal phone and received a message. "Aurora, just had my checkup. Baby is healthy. I miss you." His chest tightened. Surrounded by war, his heart remained with the 2 women he loved most. At the tunnel's heart, they found hundreds of crates of weapons, but also improvised mines, rigged to detonate. Ethan, thinking, if these go off, we'll be cut off. He ordered Major Maria Vilas, the EOD officer, to disarm them. As she worked, a secondary blast tore through the ceiling. Maria collapsed, her leg shredded by shrapnel. "Maria," groaning, "Captain. Help me." Ethan laid down suppressive fire, then raced to her side, dragging her clear of debris. Tears welled as he applied a tourniquet. "You'll live, Maria," he vowed, securing her until evacuation. As they retreated, Ethan led the column through the cleared path, every step fraught with caution. But at a junction, a sudden blast struck his left torso. Ethan, crying out, "Arg!" His rifle clattered to the ground. Darkness crept into his vision. Maria and others carried him into a safe alcove, starting emergency field treatment. "Med Tech Yen, Captain Montgomery, stay with us." Ethan's breath ragged, he clutched his comrade's hand. "I have family. I must survive." Back in London, Aurora sat before her obstetrician, listening to her baby's steady heartbeat. An uneasy feeling rose as her phone buzzed repeatedly, "Cannot connect." She dialed the military hotline. "Operator Ella, Sinclair Residence, how may I help you?" Aurora, voice trembling, "I need news of my husband, Captain Ethan Montgomery." Ella, hesitant, "The operation is ongoing. We haven't re-established comms yet." Aurora's heart froze. Clutching her belly, she tapped her iPad's camera to call Ethan directly, only to see a frozen feed that soon went dark. In the field hospital tunnel, Ethan regained consciousness. The medic Yen secured his four-line. Yen, Captain, focus on breathing. Ethan, weak, my family. Yen, will relay word. Rest now. Ethan closed his eyes, imagining Aurora and their unborn child, picturing that cottage by the Thames. Determination flared within him. I must live, for them. At first light, the radio crackled to life. Aurora, through coded channel, Ethan. Can you hear me? His pulse surged as he grabbed the handset. Aurora. I hear you, are you safe? Aurora, baby's fine. I love you. Come home. Her voice was his lifeline. Though wounded, he rallied his team. Ethan, let's move out. We're going home. Through cleared tunnels and past Barrett guns, they raised the Union Jack and the Montgomery crest at a secured checkpoint. A medevac helicopter carried Ethan away, clutching a worn photo of Aurora cradling her belly. Ethan, whisper, I'm coming back, as I promised. As the chopper roared toward London, the fog below parted like a curtain, revealing the lights of the city that waited to welcome him home. In the dead of night in London, the dim glow from St. Thomas Hospital cast a faint yellow light onto the deserted street. Behind a partially drawn curtain, Aurora Sinclair sat propped in a pale blue patient gown, clutching her maternity pillow against her swollen belly as her baby stirred within. Her heart pounded with both exhilaration and fear. When Ethan's flight from the front had been indefinitely delayed, Aurora had taken herself to the hospital in the small hours. She stepped into the waiting area with only a light bag, her eyes red-rimmed with worry. Nurses and doctors whispered nearby, heightening her anxiety. Every minute without news of Ethan felt like an eternity, but she forced herself to remain calm for the baby's sake. Nurse Hannah offered a reassuring smile. Miss Sinclair, the obstetrician will be here shortly. Please rest as much as you can. Aurora nodded. Thank you. I'm just anxious for the baby. She closed her eyes, picturing Ethan's promise, I'll be home in time. Yet she feared he didn't even know she was in labor. She held a small photograph Ethan had sent of him waving with the inscription, We'll face this together. Around 2 a.m., the first contractions came, long, intense, each one a knife-like pain. Aurora cried out softly and squeezed her pillow. Nurse Hannah returned to check the monitor. Your blood pressure is good, baby's heartbeat is strong, she said. If the contractions intensify, let me know immediately. I will, Aurora whispered, bracing herself against the pain. Somehow she found the strength to text her friend Lily Adams. Aurora, Lily, I'm in the hospital to have the baby. If Ethan calls, please tell him I'm safe. Moments later her phone buzzed. Lily, got it. I'll update him as soon as I can. I'm right here with you. That small comfort helped Aurora focus. By 4 a.m., the contractions were relentless. Nurse Hannah arrived quickly, settling Aurora onto the gurney and wheeling her toward delivery room 3. In the brightly lit room, Dr. Roberts and 2 midwives awaited. The monitor's steady beeps synchronized with Aurora's racing heart. Dr. Roberts, gently, Aurora, breathe deeply and steadily. When I say push, push as hard as you can. I understand, Aurora panted. The first push came, and Aurora gripped Dr. Roberts's gloved hand. Sweat purled on her brow as she focused on her husband's face in her mind, his concern, his love. Almost there. 3 more pushes. Dr. Roberts encouraged. With a final, agonized cry, Aurora gave one last heroic effort. A newborn's piercing wail cut through the tension. Midwife Hannah lifted the baby onto Aurora's chest. Tears streamed down Aurora's face as she cradled her son. Welcome, my love, she whispered through her sobs. The infant's tiny face, button nose, pink lips, reminded her of Lucas's gentle spirit. She pressed a kiss to his forehead. "I name you Gabriel Lucas Montgomery," she announced softly. "Gabriel, messenger of the angels, Lucas, so you'll always remember his sacrifice." The midwives clamped and cut the umbilical cord, then weighed and measured him. All vital signs were perfect. Aurora held him close, murmuring into his ear, "You are my greatest joy." Later in recovery, Aurora gazed at her sleeping son, still hoping for word from Ethan. Her phone remained silent. She stroked Gabriel's dark hair and spoke softly about his father. "Your daddy is a brave soldier. He's fighting to come back to us." The next morning, golden light filtered through the ward window. Nurse Hannah arrived with breakfast and warm blankets. "Hannah, congratulations. If all goes well, you'll be discharged soon." Aurora's voice trembled. "Thank you. I want to care for him myself. I'll be here if you need anything." On discharge day, wrapped in a cozy shawl and cradling Gabriel, Aurora received a sealed envelope from the unit's adjutant. Inside was a handwritten letter from Ethan and a photo of him with young Lucas. The note read, "My dearest Aurora, I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for Gabriel's birth. The mission ran longer than expected. I promise I will come home as soon as I can. Keep this photo close, so you know I'm always with you. All my love, Ethan." Aurora pressed the letter to her heart, tears of relief and love mingling. She looked down at Gabriel as he opened his eyes and gazed up at her. Smiling, she whispered, "Daddy's coming soon. We'll wait for him." Clutching Gabriel against her chest, Aurora stepped out into the chilly London morning, determined and unafraid, surrounded by the strength of family and love. Dawn's mist still clung to the crepe myrtles lining the Royal Airfield when the helicopter's engines roared to life. Captain Ethan Montgomery shielded his eyes against the glare of the rising sun, his heart pounding with the promise that he was finally returning home. Throughout the flight, Ethan lay on a medical stretcher, still healing from his war wound. Beside him, Lieutenant Colonel Collins, the flight surgeon, tended to his line. "Collins, Ethan, you need rest. Don't rush your recovery." Ethan, weak smile, "Thank you, Doctor. I'm just eager to see Aurora and Gabriel." As the chopper's doors slid open to reveal the London skyline below, Ethan inhaled the crisp air. Rows of uniformed soldiers and officers awaited, proud and solemn. But Ethan's gaze swept past them all, seeking only one sight. Below, the Thames-side cottage gleamed in the morning light. Aurora stood on the front steps, bundled in a warm coat, Gabriel cradled in her arms. At the sight of his father, Gabriel's face lit up and he raised chubby arms in greeting. "Gabriel?" Ethan whispered, tears stinging his eyes. He stepped down, each footfall heavy with emotion. Aurora broke into a run, and they collapsed into each other's arms. Aurora, sobbing, "Ethan, you're home." Ethan, holding her tight, "I promised. I'm here now." She handed him Gabriel, whose wide eyes studied his father before breaking into a toothless grin. Ethan kissed his son's cheek, tears of relief warm on Gabriel's skin. Behind them, grandmother Evelyn and grandfather Henry hurried forward, enveloping them in embraces. "Evelyn, my boy, you're safe. Henry, your bravery deserves this welcome home." Applause and cheers rang out, but Ethan only had eyes for his family. In the following days, Ethan convalesced in a familiar hospital wing, its French windows overlooking the garden where Aurora often sat nursing Gabriel. Each morning she brought him porridge and fresh fruit. "Aurora, you missed so many breakfasts." Ethan, smiling, "I intend to make up for everyone." A week after his return, the Montgomery and Sinclair clans gathered at the family chapel for Gabriel's christening. The intimate ceremony was lit by candles and adorned with white flowers. The regimental chaplain led them in prayer. Chaplain, we welcome Gabriel Lucas Montgomery into God's family and into the Montgomery lineage. May his life be blessed. Ethan and Aurora knelt, placing hands on Gabriel's shoulders as the chaplain sprinkled holy water. Each droplet glistened like a promise. Afterward, the family presented him a white silk ribbon and certificate of baptism. Dinner followed at the Sinclair residence, a modest tea for military families and Hollywood friends alike. Aurora spoke a few words. Aurora, I am honored to be wife and mother, and to share this joy with families who await their own hero's return. Ethan looked on with pride as she championed the cause of military spouses. He knew their reunion was not just his victory over war, but a testament to love's power. That evening, as the sun cast a warm glow over the river, Ethan and Aurora strolled the bank. He took her hand and gazed at Gabriel playing in the grass. Ethan, we'll stay here, build our life, and keep Lucas's memory alive. Aurora, and I will continue to stand as a pillar for our soldiers' families. In Gabriel's laughter that rippled across the water, they heard their shared triumph and the promise of peace. April had come to London, painting Hyde Park with bursts of tulips and fresh green leaves. In their riverside cottage, Ethan Montgomery, former captain and now devoted husband, Aurora Sinclair, Hollywood star turned military spouse, and their 6-month-old son Gabriel, were savoring their happiest days. This chapter would trace how each dawn became a gentle symphony of everyday joy. Each morning, sunlight filtered through the bedroom windows as Gabriel's delighted babble stirred his parents awake. Aurora slipped in with 2 cups of steaming tea. Ethan greeted her with a kiss before settling into his favorite armchair. In Gabriel's soft pajamas, the baby gummed a biscuit, his cheeks round and rosy. Ethan, good morning, my little family. Aurora, good morning, my hero. Their laughter mingled with birdsong outside. Over oatmeal topped with fresh berries and whole-grain toast, they planned the day. Ethan would return to his post at Aldershot for Special Forces training, while Aurora drafted her next charity address. In the evenings, they'd read bedtime stories by the hearth. Following the war, Ethan resumed his role as training officer for the 13th Regiment, Britain's elite. In Monday's briefing room, he stood before a table of junior officers. Colonel Fraser, Captain Montgomery, outline your urban combat program. Ethan, sir, I propose increased building clearance drills and frontline first aid training. Yet his mind drifted to the cottage by the Thames, where Aurora and Gabriel awaited his nightly video call. He maintained strict discipline to carve out those family moments. Aurora, in turn, launched Steadfast Home, her new charitable initiative supporting families of wounded soldiers. In collaboration with the UK Military Families Association, she held a fundraiser at Somerset House. Aurora, addressing guests, we gather not only to share but to build a community where every spouse and child has a steadfast support system. The event raised over £200,000, funding scholarships for veterans' children and medical grants for injured service members. Aurora spent the afternoon signing thank you notes as Lily Adams organized donor plaques, each bearing stories of resilience. That Sunday afternoon, Ethan took leave to give the family a day off. They cycled along the river bank, Gabriel bundled in his stroller, enthralled by swans gliding on the water. Ethan, Gabriel, your daddy fought so that you could enjoy mornings like this. Aurora, and you came into our lives like the morning sun. They paused at a riverside cafe for hot cocoa and warm milk. In the golden light, the gentle waves seemed to salute their little family's peace. Meanwhile, Aurora accepted a supporting role in the television series Heart of Service, playing a military nurse. Shot on location at real bases with serving personnel as consultants, the show became a national phenomenon. Aurora's 20% earnings were donated to her steadfast home fund. In June, Gabriel turned 1. They celebrated with a small garden party, balloons in sky blue, ivory, and gold, a vanilla-scented cake, and "Happy First Birthday Gabriel" spelled in fondant. Ethan, my son, may you grow strong and compassionate. Aurora, may you carry love and duty in equal measure. Gabriel tottered unsteadily to blow out his candle, eliciting cheers that warmed every heart. Then came the offer. Ethan was invited to lead a joint UK-ASEAN Special Forces training center in Singapore for 2 years. It was a pivotal career move, but far from home. That night, they sat at their desk by lamplight, reviewing his deployment orders. "Ethan, this could help thousands of soldiers, but I don't want to be away from you and Gabriel." "Aurora, I left Hollywood for you once. Now you must follow your calling. I'll go with you." United in purpose, they decided to relocate to Singapore together, embracing a new chapter. Eugene, their loyal driver, packed heirloom books and local crafts for family gifts. Evelyn and Henry flew in to bid a heartfelt farewell. "Evelyn, every path has its challenges. Remember, we're always here. Henry, take our honor and our love with you." At Heathrow, hand in hand with baby Gabriel, they passed through the departure gate, ready to build anew. The plane touched down at Changi Airport, Singapore's lights shimmering against tropical darkness. Colonel Lim of the training center greeted them. "Colonel Lim, welcome, Captain Montgomery. And welcome, Mrs. Montgomery. We look forward to your collaboration. Aurora, I'm honored to support military families here as I did in London." Gabriel stared in wonder at palm trees and orchids, an entirely different world. Together, the Montgomery Sinclairs embarked on their next grand adventure. Under Singapore's glittering skyline at night, skyscrapers reflected in the Singapore River, life for the Montgomery Sinclair family seemed perfect. But beneath that happiness lay unhealed wounds demanding the balm of love. In this chapter, we delve into Ethan's and Aurora's inner worlds, where past memories and present challenges intertwine, and love becomes the miraculous remedy binding two hearts. One late July evening, a sudden downpour swept over the city. Ethan and Aurora stood on the upstairs balcony of their new home, surrounded by potted orchids dripping with rain. The full moon peeked through clouds, its silver light dancing on wet leaves. "Aurora," softly, "I still miss Lucas so much. I don't know how to stop that longing from overwhelming me." Ethan, holding her, "I miss him too. Whenever I hear the wind, it sounds like gunfire in my ears. I know you worry about me and the baby." Aurora rested her head on his shoulder. "Your love gives me strength, but I still fear those old memories might tear us apart." Ethan stroked her hair. "Together, we'll turn those memories into precious memories, not pain." The next afternoon, Aurora invited Lily Adams, her dear friend from Hollywood, over. Lily had just wrapped a shoot in Bangkok and flew in to visit. In their bright living room, they sat on a velvet sofa sipping iced lotus tea and reminiscing. Lily, concerned, "How have you changed since moving here? You seem radiant, yet sometimes your eyes look sad." Aurora, smiling faintly, "This new life is full of purpose, but I still carry Lucas's memory and the pressures of the screen. I need to learn to let go." Lily nodded. "Memories make us who we are, but don't let them define your every day. You have Ethan and Gabriel now." Aurora's smile deepened. "He understands me more than anyone." They toasted to friendship and inner strength, their cups chiming gently. Meanwhile, at the Singapore training base, Captain Ethan Montgomery faced immense pressures. As head of the new Joint Training Center, he needed to meet foreign allies' demands and the British command's standards. His plans included adapting drills to jungle and urban terrain across the region. In a strategy meeting, Lieutenant Colonel Lim of the Singapore Armed Forces spoke bluntly. Lieutenant Colonel Lim, Captain Montgomery, we need to train 500 new soldiers each month. Our manpower and budget are limited. Ethan, I'll optimize the cycle, and I propose partnering with the Nanyang Military University to supplement instructors and equipment. Back in his office, Ethan glanced at a family photo, Aurora holding Gabriel in the rose garden. He reminded himself, I must succeed for them. Aurora, for her part, struggled with the tropical climate while caring for teething Gabriel. He cried through the nights, running fevers that kept her up, wiping sweat from his brow and murmuring apologies, I'm sorry, my love. One morning, after a long vigil, her phone rang. Ethan, video call, how is my little soldier? Aurora, relieved, he's better, he smiled at me this morning. Ethan's voice softened, I'll come home soon. That evening, Ethan returned unexpectedly early from drill. He found Aurora sitting on the living room floor, Gabriel clinging to her knees. Ethan, I'm sorry I didn't come back sooner. Aurora, I'm okay. How are you? Ethan, I had a nightmare. Concerned, Aurora asked, was it the old battlefield? Ethan nodded, tears brimming, I saw Lucas again, and the guns, the explosions. I thought I'd never escape those memories. Aurora wrapped him in her arms. Together, we'll face those fears. We'll give them a voice, not have to battle them alone. The next day, Aurora arranged for Ethan to attend a group therapy session organized by Soldiers' Minds, a veterans' mental health charity. In a calm, candlelit room scented with herbs, former servicemen shared their post-war traumas and supported one another. When it was Ethan's turn, he stood trembling, I used to think I was invincible, but Lucas's death still haunts me. I'm afraid I'll break. The men applauded his courage, and one whispered, opening up is the first step to healing. Afterward, Ethan felt lighter. On the walk home, he squeezed Aurora's hand, thank you for giving me the chance to talk. That evening, the three took an outing to gardens by the bay. Beneath the glowing supertree canopies shifting through rainbow hues, they walked arm in arm. Aurora, softly, how do you feel? Ethan, smiling at Gabriel, at peace. With you and him, fear has lost its power. Gabriel suddenly stumbled in the grass, and they all laughed as Ethan scooped him up. Beneath the sparkling structures, their love and resilience shone brighter than any city light. Together, they outlined their coming year. Ethan would continue leading training but secure 2 weeks home leave each month. He'd also mentor returning veterans. Aurora would expand Steadfast Home across Southeast Asia, partnering in Malaysia and Thailand, while continuing her acting roles that champion military families. Gabriel would enter an international preschool that accommodated military children. They sketched timelines and goals on a whiteboard, no longer adrift, but guided by hope. On a sunny weekend morning, Aurora and Ethan escorted Gabriel into his first day of school. He ran ahead, backpack bouncing. They paused at the gate, Singapore's humid air laced with jasmine scent. Ethan, look how far we've come. Aurora, so far, yet closer in heart than ever. I couldn't have done this without you. Ethan, and I couldn't do my work without you. You are my lighthouse. Hand in hand, they walked away into the bright day, their silhouettes framed by swaying palm fronds, a family united, having turned wounds into the strength of love. At dawn's first light over the Singapore River, the Montgomery Sinclair family reached a milestone, the inauguration of the Lucas Scholarship Fund and the celebration of Ethan and Aurora's second wedding anniversary. This triumph was not the end, but a symphony of love and duty in harmony. 2 months earlier, Aurora had transitioned from heart of service to founding the Lucas Montgomery Scholarship Foundation, pledging full scholarships to 50 children of military families across Southeast Asia each year. She invited military leaders, education officials, and charity patrons to today's grand opening at Marina Bay Sands. Backstage, Aurora in an emerald gown listened to final rehearsals by a string orchestra. Her excitement and pride shone in her eyes. "Aurora, whisper, this day is everything Lucas dreamed of." Outside, Ethan and allied officers stood in formation, their dress uniforms immaculate. Ethan held a letter from a scholarship recipient. "Dear Mr. Montgomery, I am Win Van Tone, son of a fallen soldier. Thank you for this opportunity. I will serve my community with honor." Ethan read it twice before stepping onto the red-carpeted stage to welcome guests. A highlights video played first, scenes from the initial fundraiser at London's Somerset House, empowerment workshops in Kuala Lumpur, and aid missions in Manila, underscored by "In Memory of Lucas Montgomery." The Master of Ceremonies invited Aurora forward. She approached the podium with grace. "Aurora, distinguished guests, today we honor Lucas Montgomery, who gave his life for his comrades. This foundation stands as proof that with dream and determination, any barrier can be overcome. Let us open doors for tomorrow's leaders, wherever they may be." Thunderous applause followed as she unveiled the names of the 50 inaugural scholars from 5 ASEAN nations. Next came the recognition segment. Ethan joined Aurora to present symbolic Torch of Hope plaques to families, scholars, and donors. "Ethan, Lucas would rejoice seeing these young lives ignited. Thank you for joining this mission." The main sponsor, Paragon Capital of Singapore, pledged 1 million Singapore dollars to extend the fund over the next 5 years. CEO Lim Wei Jen spoke. "Lim, education transforms lives. We stand with the Lucas Foundation to light the path for thousands." Guests rose in a standing ovation as the Singapore Army Symphony Orchestra performed a triumphant finale. That evening, on Marina Bay Sands Sky Park Terrace, a private reception marked the Montgomerys' 2-year anniversary. The decor evoked the hanging gardens of Babylon, lanterns amid cascading vines, wicker furniture, and soft lighting. Family from both sides, military colleagues, and close friends, among them Lily Adams, gathered to toast. Grandparents Evelyn and Henry flew in from London, and Catherine and William Sinclair beamed with pride. William, raising his glass, to 2 years of building a strong home amid storms. Margaret Sinclair, your love proves duty and devotion can walk hand in hand. Ethan and Aurora took the dance floor for the Skyline Waltz beneath a shower of fireworks and the glowing Happy Second Anniversary banner. Guests cheered as they moved in perfect harmony. Ethan surprised Aurora with a new ring engraved with Lucas's initials and a phoenix, symbols of sacrifice and rebirth. He whispered, "Ethan, whenever you wear this, know my love endures beyond time." Aurora, tears glistening, presented him an album chronicling their happiest 10 moments: wedding day, Gabriel's baptism, her charity debut, their winter in London. Ethan leafed through it, deeply moved. The next morning, via live feed at the Royal Commonwealth audience, Queen Elizabeth II sent her congratulations to Captain Ethan Montgomery and Mrs. Aurora Sinclair Montgomery, for your service to military families and education. Your foundation exemplifies Commonwealth values. Prince Andrew presented them with a Medal of Service in Education and Security. Back at their riverside villa, Ethan and Aurora sketched plans to expand the Lucas Fund to Australia and New Zealand, where many veterans and military families seek support. They consulted legal advisors on cross-border registration and partnerships. "Aurora, I want Lucas's legacy in every Commonwealth nation." "Ethan, I'll use military channels to build connections, adapting programs locally." Gabriel, now 2, ran circles around the conference table, his laughter a reminder of why they strove. Months later, at Sentosa Beach, the family took seaside portraits for their gallery back in Kensington. Ethan in white linen, Aurora in a flowing maxi dress, Gabriel in playful print rompers, all framed by turquoise waters and golden sand. Their friend Lily captured candid shots for posterity. These would hang under the London gables as proof that life and love conquer all. Finally, Ethan opened Lucas's old journal, reading his brother's dreams and aspirations. "If I fall, may my family find joy and spread love." Choked with emotion, Ethan promised, "Aurora, we will fulfill his wishes." They mapped out a 10-year vision: scholarship growth, a Montgomery Memorial Training Center for Vietnamese veterans, an annual Long Days of Gratitude festival for military families worldwide. At sunset on Palawan's shores in the Philippines, Ethan hoisted Gabriel onto his shoulders while Aurora leaned on his arm. Together they waved at the horizon, their silhouettes framed by violet sky and gentle waves. "Aurora, the future awaits us." Ethan, together, until the end of time. As palm trees rustled and waves whispered, their vow echoed across the water. They had journeyed through war, loss, and hardship to arrive at this triumphant, enduring love.